my grandmother, which is electronic these days, of course, my grandmother has a family plot which I've been told belongs to my uncle. Anyway, my grandmother has a family plot. Maybe we meant had a family plot, which I've been told, now I've been told after her death, I guess. How do I gain ownership of the family plot? And the plot thickens, right? My grandmother wanted me to have the plot, and I have the original deed when it was purchased. But she neglected to put anything specific about it in her will. Uncle has his own plot and does not need this one. Like, who cares about that? Uncle has his own plot, doesn't need this one. I'm assuming it has some economic value, and so Uncle would want it for that reason. So when people throw stuff like that in, it's like, well, okay, fine. But I mean, here's the thing. Doesn't matter what grandmother wanted. Maybe grandma loved you, right? And grandma really liked you and wanted you to, be laid out in the family plot, okay? And she was thinking very nicely about you and really wanted you to have it and all the rest. But then she didn't, as you say, she neglected to put anything in it in her will, which I guess she's dead now. I'm guessing because, look, if she's still alive and she's still thinking this way, have her sign it over to you. Done. But that's not what happened, is it? Grandma died, and now Uncle's got it. Now, why does Uncle have it and not your own dad? So I have to read into this and assume that your own dad has died, right? And if your own dad hasn't died, well, he could talk to his brother about getting you the lot. But that's not the way this is it? No. Grandma died, your dad died, now you got your dad's share. Presumably you got your dad's share. And now you find out that Uncle has the plot. Okay, has the family plot. Well, you aren't getting it. Go talk to Uncle about it. Maybe he wanted to give it to you. It doesn't matter. And I would not lead with hey, you've got your own. You don't need this one. I would not. I would not lead with that one. That'll get you the bum's rush out of Uncle's house. So don't do that. But look, if you want somebody to get something, you need to say it. Okay, because if you don't say it, if you don't put it in the will, then, and you do want the person to get it, then it is neglectful. And I'll tell you what, there is nothing more common. The most common thing you see all the time, typically, it's very typical, is that somebody promised the same thing to multiple people. Whether I've already told you the story about the old Cape Cod map that was, my father even wrote out and put a sticky on it saying I was getting it. And then while he's still alive, you say, oh, yeah, Brother John's getting that one. And I'm like, and I made him read that. I took the thing off the wall and said, hey, why don't you read that? And where he had written out, and I had him write out in his own handwriting. This was like 10 years ago, 10 years before we passed. Because he's asking me to take stuff, and I didn't want to take stuff out of the house. But I said, well, I really like the map. Why don't you, here, sign this yellow sticky that says this hand-drawn Cape Cod map goes to David, blah, blah, blah. Signed it, dated it. We put the yellow sticky, put the map back up on the wall. And then he's telling me how my brother's getting it. And I took the map off the wall and said, hey, why don't you read that? And he did. And it was like, ooh. Well, I'm not going to fight my brother over the map. Forget about it. I'll take a picture of the map. I'll be fine. But the point is that even when you're supposed to be aware of this stuff, right? Even when you have the guy who talks about that all the time in the family, you still mess it up. People do this routinely. So if you want something, if you really want the family plot or the picture on the wall or the grand piano or something, whatever it is you really, really want, put it in writing. All right. And then make it part of the will. If not a there's all kinds of things we can do with vehicles too. I can talk about that if you'd like, but don't just go on my grandma wanted, my uncle doesn't need it. Those are, that's what people say who aren't getting whatever it is they expected